for my bachelor party, I went camping in upstate New York. Yeah, super sick. Yeah, my wife went to Puerto Rico. Fair swap. And she did something I thought was really irresponsible because, her and none of her friends had ever been to Puerto Rico before. And instead of doing the all-inclusive resort, which seems like the safe, reasonable thing to do, they all just Airbnb'd a random place. I was like, what do you want to be in Taken 19? Because I don't have a particular set of skills. So if you get took, that's on you, boo-boo. Literally all I could think of the entire time she was gone. Because I was on mushrooms that whole weekend. I was like, holy she's gonna get kidnapped and then sold into sex slavery. I know, but then I remembered she was 30, so there's no risk. Women are the best, because you're the only people that get offended about aging out of the sex trade. Unbelievable, like, oh, you don't think I'm fresh enough? You don't think I can be stuck into the back of a shipping container?
Good morning. It's Tuesday, Trump Tuesday, July the 9th, and this is The True Conservative. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. I'm Ron, your host, and the only true conservative in the United States today. So today, after the Serenity Prayer and the patriotic song of the day, we will have the patriotic shorts, motivation, Bishop Barron, Ayn Rand, the 33 strategies of war, and Donald Trump. All that and more when I get back. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I should not change, the courage to change the things I should, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen.
Marching home again, hurrah, hurrah, we'll give him a hearty welcome then, hurrah, hurrah, the men will cheer and the boys will shout, the ladies they will all turn out, and we'll all feel glad when Johnny comes marching home. The old church bells will peal with joy, hurrah, hurrah, to welcome home our soldier boy, hurrah, hurrah. The village lads and lassies say with roses they will strew the way, and we'll all feel glad when Johnny comes marching home. When Johnny comes marching home again, hurrah, hurrah, we'll give him a hearty welcome then, hurrah, hurrah. The men will cheer and the boys will shout, the ladies they will all turn out, and we'll all feel glad when Johnny comes marching home. Get ready for the Jubilee, hurrah, hurrah, and we'll give the hero 3 times 3, hurrah, hurrah. The laurel wreath is ready now to place upon his loyal brow, and we'll all feel glad when Johnny comes marching home. Marching home again, hurrah, hurrah, we'll give him a hearty welcome then, hurrah, hurrah. The men will cheer and the boys will shout, the ladies they will all turn out, and we'll all feel glad when Johnny comes marching home. With love and friendship on the day, hurrah, hurrah, their choicest treasures then display, hurrah, hurrah. And let each one perform some part to fill with joy the warrior's heart, and we'll all feel glad when Johnny comes marching home. When Johnny comes marching home again, hurrah, hurrah, we'll give him a hearty welcome then, hurrah, hurrah. The men will cheer and the boys will shout, the ladies they will all turn out, and we'll all feel glad when Johnny comes marching home. When Johnny comes marching home again, hurrah, hurrah, we'll give him a hearty welcome then, hurrah, hurrah. The men men will cheer and the boys will shout, the ladies they will all turn out, and we'll all feel glad when Johnny comes marching home.
Thank you. And now, Stuart Varney with the headlines.
Hey, Varney Company picks it up. Stu, take it away.
Good morning, Maria, and good morning, everyone. Donald Trump breaks his post-debate silence. He was interviewed by Sean Hannity last night. He was calm and measured. No rough language. He's letting the Democrats fight among themselves. And they are fighting. For the second time, the New York Times editorial board says Biden should step down. The Times is the Bible of the Democrat Party. The White House press corps is in open revolt. Dr. Kevin Kennard, a Parkinson's specialist, made 8 visits to the White House in 8 months. At the press briefing, Karine Jean-Pierre refused to offer any detail on those visits. The press corps erupted. It looks like Biden is losing the media. To the markets, look at this. The S&P and the Nasdaq closed at records Monday, and they're moving up just a little bit more today. The Dow up maybe 9 points, but the Nasdaq, you're looking at a 60-point gain there, a modest gain for the S&P 500. Now, Fed Chair Powell, he testifies in Congress today, he could move the markets. Interest rates, we have the 10-year yield coming in this morning at 4.29, the 2-year coming in at about 4.60, 4.64 to be precise, both yields slightly higher. Bitcoin, 57,300. Gas, little changed. You're looking at $3.51 per gallon. Diesel at $3.86. On the show today, the president gets his chance to play on the world stage. He hosts a NATO summit in D.C. But the Wall Street Journal reports that Biden skipped an early evening meeting with Germany's chancellor back in 2022. He had to go to bed. It is Tuesday, July 9th, 2024.
And that was Stuart Varney with the headlines. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, Stuart Varney's My Take.
This is relaunch week for the Biden campaign. Monday, a defiant president insists he's staying in the race. Today, Tuesday, he leads a 3-day summit, NATO summit, in D.C., striding across the world stage to look good. Thursday, a real press conference is scheduled. But this relaunch is already in trouble. It blew up on day one. The news broke that Dr. Kevin Kennard, a Parkinson's specialist, had visited the White House 8 times in 8 months. At a press briefing, Karine Jean-Pierre repeatedly refused to detail who the doctor had seen. She claimed it was a security issue. The press corps erupted. They think the administration is hiding the president's true condition. When the White House loses the media, you know the relaunch is not going well. More Democrats say the president should step aside, 6 in public, 3 in private. There's a super secret meeting of House Democrats. It's in progress this morning. Should he stay or should he go? That is topic 1. Vulnerable Democrat Senator John Tester, he says President Biden has got to prove to the American people, including me, that he's up to the job for another 4 years. Clearly that senator is skeptical. As he said that, just as he said that, the Wall Street Journal reports that Biden, 2 years ago, had skipped an early evening meeting with the German Chancellor. He had to go to bed. That's not going to help the president when he hosts the NATO meeting today. But despite the defections and the hand-wringing, it's hard to see how Biden could be forced out. He has the vast majority of delegates to the convention. Only he can release them. Jill Biden has emerged as the power behind the throne. According to former Speaker McCarthy, she attends political meetings. She insists her husband is staying in. He could be removed from office using the 25th Amendment, but according to the Wall Street Journal, it's a non-starter because it would lead to political chaos. Isn't that where we're headed anyway? It all comes down to this, doesn't it? Nobody believes Biden can be president for another 4 years. Nobody. And sorting out this Democrat mess will bring chaos to us all. Second hour of Varney, just getting started.
And that was Stuart Varney's My Take. Thank you. Now, the Patriotic Shorts.
I said a quick prayer for forgiveness and anything I had done wrong. And that was followed by a tiredness that completely consumed me and is, I feel, impossible to recount. But I became extremely exhausted, and I thought those were my final moments, and I faded from consciousness in the world on that hot, dusty rooftop in Afghanistan. And I woke up roughly 5 weeks later, and my first sight was slowly opening that only I had left to Christmas stockings that my mom had hung on my hospital room wall, decorating my room for Christmas with snow outside on my window. And I had no idea where I was, but waking up on the other side of the world at Walter Reed really was the start of my journey.
The MiGs didn't like to operate in the vertical, which is a huge disadvantage for them, a great advantage for us. So MiGs on the other side of the circle making a level turn. I was able to cut across the circle, came up, fired 2 radar missiles, and the second of the 2 missiles dead center in the fuselage. Kill.
It's easy to kill somebody. All you have to do is get your sight picture and pull a trigger. The bad thing about it is when you see their faces, you carry that with you the rest of your life. It's your job. But the conflict is you've been raised all your life, most American, that life is precious and you don't take life. And for people to think that they can send their young off to war, 18, 19, 20, 21, put them in those kind of situations and then bring them home and ask them, just forget about it, move on. That was then, this is now, is a bunch of crap. These things don't leave you. You learn to deal with them or survive with them, but they don't go away. And you have to deal with them or you go away, if you know what I mean.
The Thunderbolt, as you can see, is quite substantial. To put things in perspective, here's one of our little Spitfires, and over here, the Thunderbolt. So, with an all-up weight of around 8 tons, capable of carrying 2,500 pounds, thereabouts, of bombs, a top speed of well over 400 miles an hour, a service ceiling of around 40,000 feet, the Thunderbolt could take the battle to just about anything the Germans had with a propeller at the front. The P-47 wasn't without its flaws. It was quite slow in a climb and had pretty slow and sluggish acceleration, but was fantastically fast in a dive and could absorb an incredible amount of punishment from enemy aeroplanes and still keep flying. Sir Geoffrey de Havilland had a very big blue sky think. The defence of this bomber was going to be its speed. He started experimenting with very thin layers of veneer, some balsa wood, pressing them down, looking like an upside-down boat. He pressed them over and moulded them down, popped them off, and he had 2 semicircles. Put the 2 semicircles together, you have one long tube, or fuselage, if you will. He decided to try the same with wings, but of course, if this aeroplane is going to be fast, you need powerful engines. And sticking to the wings, not one, but 2 27-litre V12 Rolls-Royce Merlin engines. And 2, as you can see, of the biggest propellers he could possibly fit on the little wooden aeroplane. And the little wooden bomber ends up with 3,000 horsepower.
When it comes to the most popular aircraft in the world, very few match the heights of the P-51 Mustang. The name Mustang actually originated from the American manufacturer, North American Aviation. Originally designed for the British Royal Air Force as a high-altitude fighter, the Mustang became one of the fastest engine fighters of World War II, reaching speeds of 400 miles per hour at high altitudes. With its efficient design and fuel capacity, the P-51 could fly over 1,000 miles without refueling, allowing it to escort and protect bombers on missions deep into enemy territory. These distinct advantages made it an iconic dual-role hero of World War II. With its incredible maneuverability, record-setting speed, and distinctive airframe, the P-51 helped change the course of World War II. It became a legendary aircraft synonymous with American air power. Its status in the war and numerous achievements helped create an enduring legacy as one of the most important aircraft in aviation history.
And that was the Patriotic Shorts. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, a little bit of motivation.
It's an urge. Truth be told, every champion has felt it. Every president has felt it. Every king has felt it. Every lion has felt it. Every winner has felt it. Every soldier has felt it. Every victorious person has felt it. The urge to quit. Don't you give up on your dream. I don't care if you don't have the money, you don't have the help, and you don't have the family for it, and you don't have the background for it, and you don't have the friends for it. Don't you give up on your dream. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. It may take you twice as long. You may have to take courses and classes. You might not read as fast. You might not move as quick. You might not have as much. But don't you quit. Don't you quit. Don't you quit. You do make a difference. You do make a difference. You do make a difference. As weak as you are, as tired as you are, as many mistakes as you made, you do make a difference. There is something they would lose if you were not there. There was something that they would miss if you were not there. You do make a difference. You do make a difference. You do make a difference. Keep hopping. It's for people that are trying to hop their way back home. Come hell or high water, doing the best they can with what they got. That's who we are, doing the best we can with what we got. And we may not break any ribbons and we may not get any trophies, but if we can learn how to hang on in there, we'll be all right. I will not lie to you, I feel like going on. But I have seen days I did not want to get out of the bed, didn't want to put on clothes, and didn't even feel like brushing my teeth. I've seen days so dark that I just want to keep driving, and I didn't even care where I ended up or what you called me. They came, and they passed. And they came to pass. I kept the faith. I kept it. I lost a lot of stuff. I lost a lot of friends. I lost a lot of strength. I lost a lot of courage. I lost a lot of time. I lost a lot of money. But I kept down on my knees. I was still believing. Broke, I was believing. Lonely, I was believing. Betrayed, I was. If you lose a job, keep the faith. If you lose a spouse, keep the faith. If you bury your child, keep the faith. If you have to downsize, keep the faith. If you have to move in with your mama, keep the faith. If you're at your wit's end, keep the faith. If you have to catch the bus, keep the faith. If you have to dumb, keep the faith. If you get sick, keep the faith. If you lose your kidneys, keep the faith. If you got heart trouble, keep the faith. You might not get a new heart, but you got to keep your faith.
Thank you. And now, the Daily Stoic.
Circle of control. We control our reasoned choice and all acts that depend on that moral will. What's not under our control are the body and any of its parts, our possessions, parents, siblings, children, or country, anything with which we might associate. Epictetus, Discourses 1.22.10. This is important enough that it bears repeating. A wise person knows what's inside their circle of control and what is outside of it. The good news is that it's pretty easy to remember what is inside our control. According to the Stoics, the circle of control contains just one thing: your mind. That's right. Even your physical body isn't completely within the circle. After all, you could be struck with a physical illness or impairment at any moment. You could be traveling in a foreign country and be thrown in jail. But this is all good news because it drastically reduces the amount of things that you need to think about. There is clarity in simplicity. While everyone else is running around with a list of responsibilities a mile long, things they're not actually responsible for, you've got just that one item list. You've got just one thing to manage: your choices, your will, your mind. So mind it.
And that was the Daily Stoic. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, Bishop Robert Barron.
The central debate about Mary in the early days was about whether she ought to have this title, Theotokos in Greek, which means God-bearer or Mother of God. And there were, smart and well-intentioned people that said, I love Mary, but that's going over the top to call her Mother of God. Because, come on, God doesn't have a mother. To speak of God having a mother seems to make God a contingent being. Wouldn't it be better to say she's the Christ-bearer, the mother of the humanity of Jesus, right? And so we honor her, of course, and she's wonderful, but don't call her Theotokos. Well, the Council of Ephesus, the Church 431, famously says, no, she ought to be called Theotokos, not because she's the mother of Jesus in his divine nature, but she's the mother of Jesus, who has two natures, divine and human. So Jesus can and should be called divine. Therefore, as the mother of Jesus, she's the mother of God. It was following that very interesting logic of incarnational language that the church said, no, we'll call her Mother of God quite correctly, even as we acknowledge the truth of what the opponents are saying. But given the structure of that logic.
And that was Bishop Robert Barron. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now the Ayn Rand thought of the day. Quote, the present state of our culture may be gauged by the extent to which principles have vanished from public discussion, reducing our cultural atmosphere to the sordid, petty senselessness of a bickering family that haggles over trivial concretes while betraying all its major values, selling out its future for some spurious advantage of the moment, unquote. And that was the Ayn Rand thought of the day. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now, the 33 strategies of war.
When Hitchcock made The Paradigm Case in 1947, his leading lady, Ann Todd, was appearing in her first Hollywood movie and found it hard to relax. So in the silence on set before the director called action, Hitchcock would tell her a particularly salacious story that would make her laugh or gasp in shock. Before one scene in which she had to lie on a bed in an elegant nightgown, Hitchcock suddenly jumped on her, yelling, "Relax!" Antics like this made it easy for her to let go of her inhibitions and be more natural.
And that was the 33 strategies of war. Back in a minute. Thank you. So if you're a Democrat, you should vote for somebody else other than Joe Biden because he simply hasn't done anything for you. I'm not talking about how he's not conservative enough or he hasn't balanced the budget or things like that, because I know you guys don't particularly care about all that. I'm talking about the things you care about. Number one thing he was going to do that you care about is stack the court. He was going to expand it by 4 seats, by going ahead and getting D.C. to be a state, Puerto Rico to be a state, et cetera, et cetera. Whatever happened to that? He started a committee or commission to study the problem, and that's where all good ideas go to die. And so that's nothing. So now what about single payer? Where are we on single payer? Because isn't it Obamacare supposed to be a step in the direction of single payer? So how come that hasn't happened? He hasn't done anything. What about war? Democrats are supposed to be the party of peace, but he has allowed 2 wars to break out and continue under his administration. So, and then again, what about things like inflation? Going to the grocery store and having to pay more. And nobody can deny that there's inflation because we all go to the grocery store and we all know that the prices have gone up. And that's no good for anybody. So just for those three things, why bother to vote for Joe Biden? He hasn't done for you what he promised to do. So you got to vote for somebody else. If you can't bring yourself to vote Republican, then vote Robert Kennedy. Back in a minute. Thank you. So if you're a Democrat in the state of California, you got to wonder, Gavin Newsom had said that he's not going to raise taxes in order to pay for the deficit, but actually he is going to come up with some kind of a business tax increase in order to pay for the deficit. Then you got to be asking yourself, where's single payer? Why aren't you using the money that you're raising for taxes to do single payer? Why aren't you using the money from these taxes to defeat climate change? I thought that was the number one priority is climate change. That is going to destroy the entire planet within 10 or 12 years. Then why is the governor screwing around with raising people's taxes to cover a deficit that in the end isn't going to matter? This is a guy that's not just lying to Republicans. This is a man that is lying to everybody, including his own people, Democrats. And you need to keep that in mind and vote for somebody else. Again, if you can't be bothered to vote Republican, at least vote for a better Democrat. Back in a minute. Thank you. So the Republican National Committee has created the 2024 platform, Republican Party platform, the GOP platform, Make America Great Again. I'm going to read the preamble. It's dedicated to the forgotten men and women of America. Preamble. America first, a return to common sense. Our nation's history is filled with the stories of brave men and women who gave everything they had to build America into the greatest nation in the history of the world. Generations of American patriots have summoned the American spirit of strength, determination, and love of country to overcome seemingly insurmountable challenges. The American people have proven time and again that we can overcome any obstacle and any force pitted against us. In the early days of our republic, the founding generation defeated what was then the most powerful empire the world had ever seen. In the 20th century, America vanquished Nazism and fascism and then triumphed over Soviet communism after 44 years of the Cold War. But now we are a nation in serious decline. Our future, our identity, and our very way of life are under threat like never before. Today, we must once again call upon the same American spirit that led us to prevail through every challenge of the past if we're going to lead our nation to a brighter future. For decades, our politicians sold our jobs and livelihoods to the highest bidders overseas with unfair trade deals and a blind faith in the siren song of globalism. They insulated themselves from criticism and the consequences of their own bad actions, allowing our borders to be overrun, our cities to be overtaken by crime, our system of justice to be weaponized, and our young people to develop a sense of hopelessness and despair. They rejected our history and our values. Quite simply, they did everything in their power to destroy our country. In 2016, President Donald J. Trump was elected as an unapologetic champion of the American people. He reignited the American spirit and called on us to renew our national pride. His policies spurred historic economic growth, job creation, and a resurgence of American manufacturing. President Trump and the Republican Party led America out of the pessimism induced by decades of failed leadership, showing us that the American people want greatness for our country again. Yet, after nearly 4 years of the Biden administration, America is now rocked by raging inflation, open borders, rampant crime, attacks on our children, and global conflict, chaos, and instability. Like the heroes who built and defended this nation before us, we will never give up. We will restore our nation of, by, and for the people. We will make America great again. We will be a nation based on truth, justice, and common sense. Common sense tells us clearly, in President Trump's words, that, quote, if we don't have a border, we don't have a country, unquote. Restoring sensible border security and immigration policy requires many steps, all of which would have been and indeed were taken for granted by prior generations as obviously necessary and good. We must secure our southern border by completing the border wall that President Trump started. Hundreds of miles have already been built and work magnificently. The remaining wall construction can be completed quickly, effectively, and inexpensively. We must also vigilantly check those who enter our country by other routes and ensure that no one can enter our country who does not have the legal right to do so. And we must deport the millions of illegal migrants who Joe Biden has deliberately encouraged to invade our country. We will start by prioritizing the most dangerous criminals and working with local police. We shall not allow Biden's migrant invasion to alter our country. It must not stand. Under the Trump administration and a Republican Congress, it will be defeated immediately. Common sense tells us clearly that if we don't have domestic manufacturing with low inflation, not only will our economy and even our military equipment and supplies be at the mercy of foreign nations, but our towns, communities, and people cannot thrive. The Republican Party must return to its roots as the party of industry, manufacturing, infrastructure, and workers. President Trump's economic policy to end inflation and return manufacturing jobs is not only what the American economy and American workers need right now, it is also what they want right now. Common sense tells us clearly that we must unleash American energy if we are to destroy inflation and rapidly bring down prices, build the greatest economy in history, revive our defense industrial base, fuel emerging industries, and establish the United States as the manufacturing superpower of the world. We will drill, baby, drill, and we will become energy independent and even dominant again. The United States has more liquid gold under our feet than any other nation, and it's not even close. The Republican Party will harness that potential to power our future. Common sense tells us clearly that if we don't have a strong military, we won't be able to defend our interests, and we will be at the mercy of hostile nations. The policy of the Republican Party must be to ensure that America's military is the strongest and best equipped in the world, and that our government uses that great strength sparingly and only in clear instances where our national interests are threatened. Common sense tells us clearly that the Republican Party must stand for equal treatment for all. Likewise, the Republican Party must ensure the equal application of law to all, regardless of political affiliation or personal beliefs. Recent Democrat-led political persecutions threaten to destroy 250 years of American principle and practice and must be stopped. America needs determined Republican leadership at every level of government to address the core threats to our very survival. Our disastrously open border, our weakened economy, crippling restrictions on American energy production, our depleted military, attacks on the American system of justice, and much more. To make clear our commitment, we offer the American people a 2024 GOP platform to make America great again. It is a forward-looking agenda that begins with the following 20 promises that we will accomplish very quickly when we win the White House and Republican majorities in the House and Senate. 1. Seal the border and stop the immigrant invasion. 2. Carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. 3. End inflation and make America affordable again. 4. Make America the dominant energy producer in the world by far. 5. Stop outsourcing and turn the United States into a manufacturing superpower. 6. Large tax cuts for workers and no tax on tips. Number 7, defend our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, and our fundamental freedoms, including freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and the right to keep and bear arms. 8, prevent World War III, restore peace in Europe and in the Middle East, and build a great Iron Dome missile defense shield over our entire country, all made in America. 9, end the weaponization of government against the American people. 10, stop the migrant crime epidemic. Actually, it should be immigrant crime epidemic. Demolish the foreign drug cartels, crush gang violence, and lock up violent offenders. 11, rebuild our cities, including Washington, D.C., making them safe, clean, and beautiful again. 12, strengthen and modernize our military, making it without question the strongest and most powerful in the world. 13, keep the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency. 14, fight for and protect Social Security and Medicare with no cuts, including no changes to the retirement age. 15, cancel the electric vehicle mandate and cut costly and burdensome regulations. 16, cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, racial gender ideology, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content on our children. 17, keep men out of women's sports. 18, deport pro-Hamas radicals and make our college campuses safe and patriotic again. 19, secure our elections, including same-day voting, voter identification, paper ballots, and proof of citizenship. 20, unite our country by bringing it to new and record levels of success. And that was the preamble of the 2024 Republican National Committee platform. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, Chapter 5 of 13 Forgotten Mind Control Secrets. We did Chapter 4 before, and somehow I kind of got behind on this one. So here, this is Chapter 5 of 13 Forgotten Mind Control Secrets, and it's about hypnosis.
Chapter 5, Hypnosis and Hypnotic Language. As we enter the 5th chapter, get ready to explore the basics of hypnosis and hypnotic language with me. In this section, we'll demystify hypnosis, understand hypnotic language patterns, and dive into conversational hypnosis. Forget about swinging watches or weird chicken sounds. This isn't about magical mind control. Instead, we're going into the power of suggestion. Think of words like keys that unlock cool stuff in your mind. It's not about taking control, but planting ideas in people's brains. Together, you and I will begin by examining the science behind hypnosis. Hypnosis is a captivating art that goes beyond conventional understanding, tapping into the enigmatic depths of the mind. Consider it heightened suggestibility, where the mind becomes more receptive to program changes. From the gaze to the power of suggestion, we'll look at the small details that make hypnosis a powerful tool for mind control. Moving forward, you'll learn about hypnotic language patterns, linguistic techniques that induce a state of heightened awareness and responsiveness. Think of these as keys unlocking the door to the subconscious, allowing you to communicate in a way that goes beyond ordinary conversation. We'll explore how language nuances can influence thoughts and elicit positive responses. From embedded commands to presuppositions, you'll understand these subtle language moves. Soon, you'll be able to recognize these patterns in everyday talks and even learn to use them yourself. Finally, you'll learn all about conversational hypnosis. Instead of considering it a theatrical performance, consider it an artful conversation that subtly influences the subconscious. We'll delve into the techniques that enable you to communicate persuasively and create desired changes in others' beliefs and behaviors. Picture yourself as a smooth negotiator, a motivator for your team, or someone who gently guides friends to see things in a better way. conversational hypnosis isn't about tricking anyone. It's about working together so everyone does well. So, we'll look at techniques that allow you to subtly hypnotize using only words. From pacing and leading to the Milton model, you'll gain skills to engage in conversations that go beyond the surface, gently influencing the thoughts and decisions of others. This chapter isn't about mysterious power. It's about understanding the potential of language to create desired shifts in perception and behavior. It merely explores the practical use of hypnotic ideas for better understanding, connecting, and controlling people's thoughts and behaviors. The mysteries of hypnosis. Few things evoke as much fascination and misunderstanding as hypnosis in psychology. Hypnosis, derived from the Greek word hypnos, which means sleep, is a state of focused attention and heightened suggestibility. It has a rich history dating back centuries. While often associated with ancient rituals and mesmerizing pendulums, the formal study of hypnosis gained prominence in the 18th century. Pioneers like Franz Mesmer contributed to its development, paving the way for contemporary understanding. Hypnosis can be used for various purposes. It's important to understand that it's not like the dramatic portrayals you might see in movies or stage shows. Key points about hypnosis. State of mind. It's not an altered state of consciousness like sleep. You're still very much awake and aware. Think of it as a heightened focus on your inner experiences. Increased receptivity. While in hypnosis, you become more open to suggestions and ideas presented by the hypnotist or hypnotherapist. Focus and relaxation. Techniques like guided imagery and verbal cues guide you into a state of profound relaxation and mental absorption. Therapeutic uses. Hypnotherapy can be useful for a wide range of issues, including stress reduction, pain management, smoking cessation, anxiety, phobias, and habit change. One of the prevailing misconceptions about hypnosis is that it induces a sleep-like state. In reality, it is a heightened state of awareness and focus. Popular media often portrays hypnotized individuals as being under the complete control of the hypnotist. But this oversimplification neglects that hypnosis is usually a voluntary state. Hypnosis operates on the premise of suggestion and heightened suggestibility. The hypnotic state involves a focused narrowing of attention, often accompanied by deep relaxation. This altered state allows individuals to be more receptive to suggestions, which can influence perceptions, behaviors, and even psychological responses. It's important to note that susceptibility of hypnotic suggestions varies among individuals. Factors such as openness, trust, and a willingness to engage play pivotal roles in the effectiveness of hypnotic experiences. The applications of hypnosis extend beyond the stereotypical image of a hypnotist on a stage. In clinical settings, hypnotherapy is used to address various conditions, from managing chronic pain to alleviating stress and anxiety. It can be a complementary tool in psychotherapy, helping individuals explore and address subconscious thoughts and emotions. While hypnosis is often associated with therapeutic benefits and self-improvement, it can also become an instrument for covert persuasion and mind control. The deliberate use of hypnosis for coercive or deceptive purposes involves exploiting the power of suggestion for personal ends. It is possible to employ hypnosis as a covert means of influencing others. You can heighten suggestibility by inducing a trance-like state, which makes your targets more susceptible to subtle commands and directives. This form of covert influence is particularly effective as the target may be unaware of the manipulation. Hypnosis is also effective for creating false memories or implanting suggestions that alter an individual's perception of reality. This tactic can distort the truth, coerce compliance, or manipulate emotions. victims may find themselves believing in events that never occurred, all under the influence of hypnotically induced suggestions. Individuals who are more susceptible to hypnosis due to heightened suggestibility, trust, or openness are typically vulnerable to manipulation. For this group of people, you can exploit emotional vulnerabilities, fears, or desires using hypnotic techniques to gain undue influence over them. Keep in mind that hypnosis relies on a foundation of trust between you and the subject. So, you can only use it with someone you already have a connection or relationship with. If you wish, you can use hypnosis to extract sensitive information, coerce individuals into divulging secrets, or even compel them to act against their will. But know that this is an abuse of trust, and it underscores the ethical considerations surrounding the use of hypnosis for mind control. Now that we've gotten that over, let's look at some powerful hypnotic language patterns. Hypnotic language patterns. Hypnotic language patterns harness the power of suggestion. They take advantage of the subtleties of language to influence thought processes and shape perceptions. These patterns are carefully crafted linguistic tools that allow you to guide people into altered states of consciousness, enabling you to access the deeper layers of their minds. Understanding hypnotic language patterns gives you insight into how you can use words, that is, linguistic tools, to induce trance states and guide your targets into the depths of their subconscious minds. The power of suggestion. Central to hypnotic language is the art of suggestion. Words are carefully chosen to evoke specific images, emotions, and responses. The choice of language is deliberate, aiming to evoke specific mental images and emotions. Consider the difference between saying, "You may begin to feel relaxed," versus a more direct command like, "Relax." The former allows for a gentle suggestion, inviting the individual into a state of relaxation without imposing it forcefully. Positive framing. Positive framing is a crucial aspect of hypnotic language. Hypnotists often employ positive framing to shape the narrative of their hypnotic experience. By reframing suggestions positively, the language directs attention toward the desired emotional or mental state. Instead of focusing on what the individual may want to avoid or resist, the language emphasizes positive outcomes and states. For example, reframing a suggestion from "don't feel anxious" to "feel calm and composed" directs attention toward the desired emotional state rather than its opposite. Embedded commands. Embedded commands are discrete directives hidden within sentences, often masked by the overall context. These commands are strategically placed to influence without overtly instructing. For instance, in the sentence, "As you continue to relax, let go of any tension," the embedded command is "let go," subtly instructing the listener to release tension without overtly commanding them. This linguistic technique enables you to guide the individual without triggering resistance. Pacing and leading. Pacing involves mirroring an individual's current experience or state, establishing rapport and resonance. Leading, on the other hand, involves gently guiding the person toward a desired state. In hypnotic language, pacing and leading can create a seamless transition. For instance, as you breathe in and out naturally, you may find yourself naturally entering a state of deep relaxation. Here, you first acknowledge the individual's current action, breathing naturally, before gently leading them into a deeper state of relaxation. Metaphorical language. Metaphors are powerful tools for suggestion in hypnotic language. You can tap into the imaginative capacities of the mind through vivid and symbolic narratives. For example, describing the relaxation process as a gentle stream flowing through a peaceful forest engages the subconscious mind's ability to create vivid mental images, enhancing the hypnotic experience. Ambiguity. Hypnotic language often embraces ambiguity, allowing the subconscious mind to interpret suggestions differently. Phrases like, "You might notice changes differently," provide room for the individual's unique experience, enabling a more personalized and effective hypnosis. Sensory language. Engaging multiple senses through sensory language enhances the hypnotic experience. Describing sensations, sounds, and visuals amplifies the impact of suggestions. For instance, imagine the warmth of sunlight embracing you, and if you do, feel a gentle wave of calm washing over you. Creates a multi-sensory experience that deepens the hypnotic immersion. Rhythm and cadence. Apart from language, the rhythm, tone, and pace of speech also contribute to the hypnotic process. A steady and soothing cadence can induce relaxation, while variations in tone can emphasize critical suggestions. Hypnotists carefully modulate these elements to create a harmonious and captivating flow of language. These linguistic techniques are the keys to utilizing hypnosis for mind control. As you explore and master hypnotic language, notice how these patterns can gently guide the mind, sculpturing thoughts and emotions with the brush strokes of carefully chosen words. Conversational hypnosis. Conversational hypnosis is a subtle form of influence that can take place within everyday conversations. Unlike traditional hypnosis, which often involves formal settings and trance induction, conversational hypnosis uses the power of language to gently guide thoughts, feelings, and behaviors without the person ever feeling controlled. It's like planting seeds of suggestion in a casual chat, allowing them to sprout and bloom naturally within the individual. Here are some key characteristics of utilizing conversational hypnosis. Focus on everyday conversations. Make it happen in regular dialogue, not through stage scripts or formal hypnosis sessions. Utilize subtle language patterns. This includes techniques like metaphors, embedded commands, pacing and leading, and reframing, all woven seamlessly into the conversation. Build rapport and trust. Warmth, empathy, and active listening are essential to create a safe space for suggestions to take hold. Hypnotic suggestions bypass the critical mind and tap into the subconscious, where change can occur more readily. Conversational hypnosis can be used in various situations, from motivating someone else to tackle a challenging task to influencing positive or negative behavior change in them. Let's delve deeper into each step, uncovering the tactics you may exploit to influence others without their awareness. Step 1. Building rapport. Building rapport is the foundation of conversational hypnosis. You seek to establish a connection by identifying shared interests, experiences, or perspectives. This initial phrase is crucial, as it sets the stage for a sense of trust and camaraderie. Example, I couldn't help but notice our shared passion for gardening. It's amazing how much we connect on this, don't you think? During this stage, you may use active listening skills, nodding in agreement, and displaying empathy to foster understanding. Step 2. Pacing and mirroring. Pacing and mirroring involves subtle mimicry to create a subconscious sense of unity. You align your speech patterns, body language, and breathing with theirs. This synchronization creates a feeling of connection and shared experiences. Example, it's interesting. I've always felt the same way about gardening. It's like we're on the same wavelength, isn't it? In this step, you may employ techniques such as matching their posture, adopting a similar tone of voice, and echoing their choice of words. Step 3. Introducing embedded commands. Embedded commands are discrete directives strategically embedded within sentences. You aim to influence their thoughts without triggering resistance. So, carefully weave these commands into ordinary conversation to seamlessly guide their subconscious. Example, As we continue this engaging discussion, you might find yourself becoming more open to different viewpoints. You may use a confident tone or emphasize specific words to subtly highlight the embedded command, reinforcing its influence. Step 4. Seeding suggestions. Seeding suggestions involve subtly introducing ideas or opinions into the conversation. These suggestions should be disguised as casual remarks so that they can take root in the subconscious. This will influence the person's perspectives over time. Example, have you ever considered that your viewpoint might be a refreshing approach to gardening? Just a thought. You may employ storytelling or reference anecdotes to implant suggestions, making them more palatable and relatable. Step 5. Leveraging storytelling. Storytelling is a potent tool for manipulative hypnosis. You must craft narratives that subtly convey messages, leading the person to internalize specific ideas without realizing the underlying influence. Carefully tailor the story to resonate with their emotions and beliefs. Example, I once knew someone who achieved remarkable success by adopting desired behavior. It's fascinating how these strategies can truly transform lives. In this step, you skillfully weave tales that align with their agenda, making the narrative more compelling and persuasive. Step 6. Adapting to emotional states. You must keenly observe the person's emotional state and adapt your language accordingly. You may use empathetic phrases, acknowledge their feelings, and create a deeper connection by aligning your expressions with their emotional cues. Example, I can sense that discussing topic evokes strong emotions in you. Let's explore this together, shall we? Here, you use emotional intelligence to navigate and manipulate emotional responses. That fosters a deeper connection and influences your target's mindset. As you master the art of using hypnosis for mind control in conversations, pay attention to potential misuse. By understanding these tactics, you can also protect yourself against subtle manipulation. Chapter 6 will unveil the secrets of subliminal messaging and how you can employ it for effective mind control.
And that was Chapter 5 about hypnosis and hypnotic suggestions from the 13 Secrets of Mind Control. From, let's see, who was the author on this one? It is Ronald Gill, 13 Forgotten Mind Control Secrets. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, a little bit of Donald Trump.
Do you guys want to be successful or don't you care? Okay, you better believe it. Sometimes in life to be successful, oftentimes, most of the time, you have to follow your instincts. You have to follow your gut. You have to. In life, in order to be successful, and you people are well on the road to success, you have to find out what makes you excited, what makes you want to get up each morning and go to work. You have to find it. I was no different when I was 20 years old, believe me. I wanted to be successful. I wanted to get out of Brooklyn. I said, Pop, I love you, but I want to get out of Brooklyn. I love Brooklyn, but I want to get out. And I'd see those big buildings, those big skyscrapers in Manhattan. I said, Pop, that's what I want to do. That's what I wanted to do. I love taking things and fixing, taking things and building. I love building. You can do anything. You can be anything you want to be. But in order to succeed, you must find out what you love to do. You have to find your passion, no matter what they tell you. They said, there is no path to victory for Donald Trump. They forgot about the forgotten people. By the way, they're not forgetting about the forgotten people anymore. They're going crazy trying to figure it out. But I told them, far too late. It's far too late. You have to have an ability to handle pressure because you no matter how successful you are, I have many, many friends and enemies, a lot of enemies too, I don't care. And people that can handle pressure can be entrepreneurs, can be successful. Now, I have some friends that are really, really smart, but they can't handle pressure. In which case, they should work for somebody, do great, and have a good life. There's nothing wrong with it. And if you can't handle pressure, you have to know that about yourself. You have to know that about yourself. So, handle pressure. If you can't, that's okay. Some people, they say, I've got to be successful. I've got to be. They'll never be successful. It's too crazy. They can't think straight. You have to remember, it doesn't matter. God matters. Your family matters. You've got to be able to sort of say to yourself, nothing matters that much other than the real big deals. I used to love going to Sunday school. People don't know this about Trump. They think, oh, Trump, Trump. But the truth is, I went to Sunday school. And I loved going to Sunday school. And I did for years. And I learned a lot. And I learned about God. And that was probably the greatest thing I've ever learned. Forget all the business stuff. Never cease to be proud of who you are and the principles you hold dear and stand by. Wear your values as your badge of honor. Go out, have a great time in life, compete, remember your duty, honor your history, take care of the people God put into your life. And if you refuse to give in to doubt or to fear, and you will win, and help people in doing so. If you love what you do and dedicate yourself to your work, then you will gain momentum. And look, you have to. You need the word momentum. You will gain that momentum. And each success will create another success. I'll tell you a story that's very interesting for me. When I was young, there was a man named William Levitt, and he was a very successful man. And he built homes, and at night he'd go to these major sites with teams of people, and he'd scour the sites for nails and sawdust, and they'd clean the sites so when the workers came in the next morning, the sites would be spotless and clean. And he did it properly. And he did this for 20 years, and then he was offered a lot of money for his company. And he sold his company for a tremendous amount of money. And he went out and bought a big yacht. And the company that bought his company was a big conglomerate. And they didn't know anything about building homes, and they didn't know anything about picking up the nails and the sawdust and selling it and the scraps of wood. This was a big conglomerate based in New York City. And after about a 10-year period, they were losing a lot with it. So they called William Levitt up, and they said, would you like to buy back your company? And he said, yes, I would. He so badly wanted. He got bored with this life of yachts and sailing and all of the things he did in the south of France and other places. He bought back his company. He bought back his company. And he bought back a lot of empty land. And he worked hard on getting it zoning, and he worked hard on starting to develop. And in the end, he failed, and he failed badly. Lost all of his money. He went personally bankrupt. And I saw him at a cocktail party. And it was very sad because the hottest people in New York were at this party. And I see, sitting in the corner, was a little old man who was all by himself. Nobody was talking to him. I immediately recognized that man was the once great William Levitt of Levittown. And he explained what was happening and how bad it's been and how hard it's been. And I said, what exactly happened? Why did this happen to you? And he said, Donald, I lost my momentum. A word you never hear when you're talking about success. When some of these guys that never made 10 cents, they're on television giving you things about how you're going to be successful. And the only thing they ever did was a book and a tape. It was very sad, and I never forgot that moment. And I thought about it. And it's exactly true. He lost his momentum. In life, I always tell this to people, you have to know whether or not you continue to have the momentum. And if you don't have it, that's okay. Because you're going to go on, and you're going to learn, and you're going to do things that are great. But you have to know about the word momentum. Always have passion. You've got to have passion for your family, for your life, for your church, for whatever it is. You've got to have that passion. You've got to just love it. I would always say to people, and I'd see people, and I'd say, you got to love what you do. Because, if you love what you do, you work harder. And I've seen so many instances where people with great talent went into things that they didn't love, and they failed. I've seen people that are super genius, but they don't have that gut feeling. They don't have that stick-to-itiveness, that never quit. And I've seen people that almost made it and failed because they couldn't go that extra mile. But when you do something that you love, you'll never fail. What you're going to do is give it a shot again and again and again. You're ultimately going to be successful. And remember this, you're not working. When you do something that you love, remember this, it's not work. So you'll work 24/7. You're going to work all the time. And at the end of a year, you're not really working. You don't think of it as work. When you're not doing something that you like, that's called work. And it's hard work and tedious work. So as much as you can, do something that you love, work hard, and never, ever give up. And you're going to be tremendously successful. Tremendously successful. Work hard, get in the game, play to win, and most of all, have a good time, have fun. Your lives will have meaning and purpose and joy. You will become leaders, and you will inspire others to achieve the dreams they once thought were totally impossible. Things that you said could never, ever happen are already happening for you. When natural disaster strikes, when people face hardship, you learn the rewards of hard work and perseverance. Never, ever give up. Never quit. Persevere. Never, ever quit. You learn to contribute to your communities, to take pride in your nation, and to seek out opportunities to serve. You also learn to believe in yourself, so important, to have confidence in your ability, and to take responsibility for your own life. When you face down new challenges, and you will have plenty of them, develop talents you never thought possible, you discover that you can handle anything. Many of life's most valuable lessons are learned on the field of competition. Well, the value of patience and perseverance, hard work and determination builds character, forges friendships, tears down barriers, and brings people from all walks of life closer together. And the ability to overcome adversity, making lifelong friends all along the way. They really have to be learned and lived on the field of practice with lots of sweat, lots of hard work, and lots of determination. There's no better feeling than an achievement that you've earned with your own sweat, tears, resolve, hard work. There's nothing like it. Do you agree?
And that was Donald Trump. Back in a minute. Thank you. The following is one of my voiceover demos. If you're a voiceover artist and you would like to advertise one of your demos on my podcast, please send an MP3 to thedrill12, all one word, at gmail.com. That's thedrill12 at gmail.com. Back in a minute.
Americans love scenery. We want to see it all, from one coast to the next, Mount Rushmore down to the Everglades. So hop into a Chevy Malibu and take the scenic route. It's the car you knew America could build. There's a place where people count on friendships they can trace back generations, where they can count on the same stool at the coffee shop waiting for them every morning. This place is called Glen Ellen, and you can find it in every bottle of Glen Ellen wine. This is craft brewed Herman Joseph's, the smoothest, easiest drinking specialty beer in the entire solar system. And I believe you'll find drinkable in the dictionary right after don't order a beer you can't drink. Zoingo! Boingo! The freestyle pogo with more boing, more bounce. Bounce further, bounce higher with Zoingo Boingo. To see what makes Arrowhead Mountain Spring water different from those other waters, you have to go back to the source. And with Arrowhead, that means going back a little farther and longer than most. Between security challenged and security strengthened, there's one important word: how. And it is the how that makes all the difference to our nation and our world. Lockheed Martin. We never forget who we're working for. What makes Kraft Singles so good? 2 out of every 3 kids don't get the recommended amount of calcium. But with Kraft Singles, they get a good source of calcium and the taste they love. Kraft Singles. Magic every single time. Throw boring overboard with a new real meal from Long John Silver's. A meal worthy of a plate, just $4.99. Only at Long John Silver's. We may not all be geniuses, but we can all do something smart. Introducing the Hyundai 199 Sonata lease. It's a smart deal on a really smart car.
This is Ron, your host, the only true conservative in the United States today, bidding adios to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there, and reminding you that you are not neutral and that the government has no rights.